That is yoga. And yoga means linking your thought with the action. Linking your thought with the action. How do you combine these two things harmoniously? That I think is extremely. And it is said, whether it is Chinese Confucius or whether it's Indian King Janaka, all of them said there is a characteristic that people must develop if you want to move from manager to leader. Manager operates in the system. The leader operates on the system. Leader operates on the system. That is why we say anyone who is a leader must be kingly outside, saintly inside. Kingly outside, saintly inside. He must be actively calm and calmly active. Calmly active. This is another very important thing. And that is why Bhagavad Gita, some 2-3 things I always like. And one of the very important things is about leader. It's yad yad acharati shreshtaha tat tat eva itare janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokaha tat anuvartate. It is the responsibility of a leader to set high standards so that other people may emulate him. And he must be a role model so that he is a living example of what leadership means. This is a very important thing which every manager ought to know. Also at the same time, we talk today a lot on corporate governance. There is a very beautiful shloka in the Bhagavad Gita which sums up what is meant by corporate governance. It says, Pravritrincha, Nivruttincha, Karya, Karye, Bhaya, Bhaye, Bandham Moksham, Chaya Vetti Buddhi, Sa Partha Satviki. See, a good man knows what ought to be done, what ought not to be done, what is to be feared, what ought not to be feared, what is to be actually followed, what not to be followed. Only when he establishes things in an equilibrium, only then he should take the decision. So this is some of the things which I thought I will just, because for want of time I don't want to actually exceed the time also. The other thing I want to do is to relate how Swami Vivekananda, and to me this Swami Vivekananda was a heroic ascetic. There are many ascetics, many sadhus, but he was a heroic ascetic. He was a saint patriot. India always has known saint integrators. They have always known saint singers, but they have not seen till Vivekananda a saint patriot. And he is one person who was responsible for the Renaissance. He influenced the way of thinking of Rabindranath Tagore, of Mahatma Gandhi, of Jawaharlal Nehru. And that was the first time we have seen the beginnings of a Renaissance, that he was a Yuga Purusha, blessed by Sri Swami Ramakrishna, and that is why he was able to achieve wonders in a short span of less than 40 years. And what was his main sayings, which also is an echo of what the Bhagavad Gita says? He says, Manava Sevaye Madhava Seva. And therefore he said, Daridra Narayana. I see God in poverty. I see God in illiteracy. I see God in ignorance. And unless I am able to actually remove these causes, then only I am going to see God. So very important concept that he brings. Also, Paropakararthamidam Shariram. I am here so that my life, my service. Like Mahatma Gandhi said, my life is my message. In the case of Swami Vivekananda also, his life is a message. And like the saints of yore, he was not only a saint, not only a thinker, not only a doer, he was a man who built institutions, and institutions with longevity. So this is a very great tribute we need to pay to Swamiji, because it was because of him we are available and we can sit in this Ramakrishna Math and in the Vivekananda Institute and imbibe something of his inspiration, which is extremely important for us. Also at the same time, to the young he said, you are the creators of your own destiny. You are the creators of your own destiny. And he also said, you must always say, Kartum Shakyam, Sarvam Me Sadhyam. I can do everything. The secret of success of Arjuna was Kartum Shakyam. When all the princes said, Prayatnam Karishyami, he said, Kartum Shakyam. And he said that mango on the tree, he immediately felled it. And that is why it is the yoga that he learned, not only putting the arrow straight at the target, drawing the string tautly, but more importantly, the mind, the thought. was also on the action that he was. That is what was responsible. And that is why, seeing a reflection, he could hit the eye of the fish. So that is really, but what happened to such a great warrior, as Swamiji just now said, Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupastitam anariyajustam atsvargiyam akirtikaram Arjuna. So he said this, so whereas what Swami Vivekananda said, Swami Vivekananda is echoing Lord Krishna when he says, Klaibyam masmagamah partha na tattvayi upapadyate kshudram hrudaya daurbalyam chektvo uttishta parantapa. What it means is, don't be like a eunuch. You must be decided. You can't be half male, half female. You have to be either a man or you have to be a woman. Don't be somewhere in between. Be decisive. So it says, Klaibyam masmagamah partha na tattvayi. It does not behove a warrior, does not behove a kshatriya. Stand up and fight. And if you fight, victory will be yours. And lastly, what does Swamiji say? And the last sloka of the Bhagavad Gita is so full of meaning. It says, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Danurdaraha, Tatra Sri. That means wealth, Vijaya, victory. Dridhaniti, it will be actually firm policy. And this is what I would advise, that you have to combine the contemplated reflections of the mind, yogi. That means you have to be contemplative, reflective, objective, the yogi. And you have also at the same time Arjuna, so that Dhanurdhara, ready for action. So the combination of this, that is why Arthur Koestler says the yogi and the commissar. You have to be a yogi, at the same time you have to be a Russian commissar. These two things must actually combine. That is why what happened in the end, you have to decide for yourself one important question. Many times managers face this problem. And that problem is, our people are well trained, our workers are well trained, but who is actually providing the leadership? You have the case, on one side was Shalya, and Karna was a great warrior. Karna told Shalya, take my chariot to the middle of the battlefield. I am today going to behead Arjuna. Whereas, what did Shalya tell him? O Sutaputra, do you think you can face the mightiest warrior on earth, who has Pashupati Astra with him? You will be killed, I will also be killed. So demoralizing was his talk. The other side was a demoralized Arjuna. He has actually said, I am not going to fight. Gandivam samsati hastat. So cheyi nunchi padipota undi Gandivamu, my hair is an end. I am perspiring. And how can I actually fight? But what does Krishna advise him? Krishna tells him, my friend, this is not action which I will approve of. So he said, you have to get up, you have to fight. And that is why for us also this situation arises in life. Will you provide Shalya Sarathyam or Krishna Sarathyam? This is an important thing I want all of us to realize. You have to provide Krishna Sarathyam. Get over difficulties. Therefore, Swami Vivekananda said, you want people with muscles of iron, nerves of steel, and be firm like a rock amidst turbulent waves. This is very, very important for us. Also, at the same time, we must remember what Shankaracharya said. And Shankaracharya, when he was thinking of setting up these 4 mutts, I believe he wrote very beautifully in a sloka, Chitram Vatatarur Mule, Chitram Vatatarur Mule, Shishyaha Vruddhaha, Gurur Yuva. Gurur Yuva. Maunam, and the teacher is not speaking at all. Gurostu Maunam Vyakhyanam, Shishyastu Chinna Samshayaha. That means all the doubts of the people are completely clarified actually, because he says in future the young persons will be the future teachers. Old people like us will have to listen to the young people, because the young people will be having more knowledge, latest knowledge, modern knowledge, new ideas, and old people have to listen to them. This becomes, but only thing is you have to also cultivate maunam. That means in silence, in contemplation, you will be able to get the correct thing. Now, I want to come to the end of the thing. What Mahatma Gandhi, what Swami Vivekananda said is, Shreyansi Bahu Vignani. There can be lot of obstacles, difficulties if you want to do something good. And that is why he always used to quote, Uttishtata Jagrata Prapya Varanni Bodheta. Shurasya Nishita, it is as sharp as a knife, the razor's edge. Duratyaya, very difficult. Durgam patastat kavayo vadanti. So people say it's a very difficult path, but what is important is young people like you must understand my intellect must be sharpened, laser sharp, so that even on a razor edge I can walk. You see, this is what you must develop. And education was one thing very close to Swami's heart. Education, according to him, is the manifestation of the perfection already in man. It must be life-giving, man-making, mind-training, character-building. And he said, mind is the library of the universe. Mind is the library of the universe. And that is why he said, you must combine the Chhatra Virya, like the Virya or energy and energy of a Kshatriya, Brahma Teja, the intellect of the Brahmin, the karma of the Vaishya and the seva of the Shudra. These four must be combined harmoniously if you want India. And we are architects of our own destiny. And what he again said was servant leadership. We all think of a Malik, but the real Malik must be also a Mali at heart. The real Palak must be a Sevak at heart. It is called servant leadership. So a leader must have the temperament of a servant. Then only he will be able to provide correct leadership. And that is why I want all of you to just remember what I learned, what I heard from senior people. I am passing it on, this message, for what it is worth and what is. God has given all of us four powerful forces with every human being, every individual. Gnana Shakti, the power of the intellect, the power of the thought, the power of the brain, the power of the head. Prana Shakti, the power of the spirit, the power of the breath. The first breath the child takes, the child is born. The last breath the man takes, the man is gone. Dam tod diya, we say. We also say, Dam hai kya? All these are expressions of the power of the spirit. Third is Ichha Shakti. It is in your heart, your desire. Last is Kriya Shakti. How can you actually get the job done? The combination and the alignment of the head, the spirit, the heart and the hand. What it means is the art of the heart and the science of the mind must be combined. Then only you will be able to achieve what you set forth to achieve. Lastly, I would like to, while thanking the Vivekananda Institute, I would say all of us are inheritors of a rich cultural legacy, yet ethical and eternal Indian values. To me, Bharat has a different connotation. Not just that King Bharat ruled over this ancient land. To me, Bharat means Bha stands for Bhava, good thought. Ra stands for Raga, good action. Ta stands for Tala, good synchronization. If you can synchronize this, Bhava, Raga and Tala. Bhava, Raga, Tala, Sumilita Desha Bharatavani. Bharatavani must be a land where we are actually able to combine this. Which means we must move with the times but be ahead of the times. You must evoke national pride and consciousness about a rich cultural heritage and how India can be a beacon light to the world. Swami Vivekananda's birthday, 12th January, is celebrated as Youth Day since 1985 after the United Nations advised the government of India to adopt it. And he was a messiah of the youth. And therefore, all the time his message is eternal, youthful. And he was more than any else, a warrior prophet, a teacher, a great mystic, a great disciple, and more importantly, a great institution builder. And that is why he referred when he was alive, I am a voice without a form. I am a voice without a form. I do not want a name. My ideas must continue. My ideas. Nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. In the future, Winston Churchill said, in the future there will be only not empires of space, but empires of the mind. It will be empires of the mind. So man the seeker, Man the knower must become the doer. And what is important for all of us is, we always believe, Sarve bhavantu sukinaha, Sarve santu niramaya, Sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma dukkha bhaga bhave. So this is the universal prayer, not only for us, that everyone, Sarve jana sukino bhavantu. And we also have in the Rig Veda, Ano Bhadra Kritavo Yantu Vishwataha. Let noble thoughts come to us from all sides, but the time has now come when India must give its noble thoughts to people all over the world. It's not a question of one-way traffic, it should be a two-way traffic where our ideas, which has withstood the test of time, must be available to the whole world. And therefore, what I would like all students to remember, and that is, no one can succeed, no one can become excellent unless he or she does his or her homework, puts in honest work, puts in hard work, puts in smart work, puts in teamwork, and has a network. I wish all of you will follow this particular thing. And lastly, I am sure all of you will actually be motivated, and you will take a decision today that with the blessings of Swami Vivekananda and with the eternal wisdom of actually the Bhagavad Gita, you will understand wisdom is accept the relevant, discard the irrelevant. Accept the relevant, discard the irrelevant. And lastly, in the ancient Takshila University, whatever blessing was given to the student was this. And it was, Ashma Bhava, be as strong as a rock in your determination. Ashma Bhava, Parashu Bhava, be as sharp as a battle axe in your intellect. And in the battle of life, if that axe gets blunted, go back again to the hard rock of your determination. Hold it to a fresher sharpness. So I wish and pray all of you will be, and this will be Hiranyastrani Bhava. Let these two things be the very strong golden weapons in your hand. I once again thank Vivekananda Institute of Human Excellence, the Swamijis, and all of you for having given me a patient hearing. Thank you.
I have to breathe very heavily before I have to say something in complimenting Sri Gopalakrishna for the wonderful expression he has made. Remember, he has started with the expression of Swami Vivekananda at the Parliament of Religions, Sisters and Brothers of America, and moved to the great concept of Bhagavad Gita, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Pardho Dharudhara. If these two things join together, which Swamijis have been always telling, Yogeshwara Krishna, spirituality must be there. Arjuna, ability to act upon the concept must also be there. Really, the coining of the words, different words to express his thought, and the elaboration of the subject, touching upon the major concepts of management, and linking them with Bhagavad Gita and Swami Vivekananda, he has made the event very, very purposeful and also successful. With his influence, I am also using kind words. I thank him immensely for the wonderful expression he has made, and we are a bit behind time, so I request all you to bear with me. And now we have another very learned speaker who is an expert in the management concepts, going to different institutions, disseminating the wonderful concepts of management. He is Abhimanyu Acharya, a doctorate in the subject, and he is a lead associate of the AA Associates at Secunderabad. And as we all know very well, whenever Swami Bodhananandji chooses and picks up a person for being a speaker here, it means that there is merit and skill in them. I offer my welcome to Abhimanyu Acharya ji and request him to address on this occasion. Welcome, sir.
Swamijis, my salutations. So Gopal Krishna, it's very difficult to speak after you, and I think it's very cruel on your part, Swamiji, to make me speak after him. extraordinarily clever management. In fact, one of the reasons why I'm speaking from this place rather than there is because I don't have the stature to speak from there after the wonderful speakers before me. I would like to, as I said, offer my salutations to you, Swamijis, the distinguished speakers who will be speaking after me, and most importantly, the audience. Even Lord Krishna needed an audience to speak to. And therefore, true, it was an audience of one, but that audience of one has now, after so many millennia, become an audience of millions. I am, as he said, Abhimanyu Acharya, but actually I am Siddhartha Abhimanyu Ramanuja Venkateshwara Srinivasa Binding Nole Tirumalachar Keshwaingaracharya. My mother was reading the Mahabharata. You wanted me to repeat my name, certainly, sir. My name is Siddhartha Abhimanyu Ramanuja Venkateshwara Srinivasa Binding Nole Tirumalachar Keshwaingaracharya. My mother once was reading the Mahabharata. I'm not sure whether I should be happy about this because what happened is that she had come to this part and she was expecting me. She was, I think, in the 8th month and she was expecting me. And at that point in time, she was reading the Mahabharata in the back of a car while traveling in what is today Sri Lanka, what in those days was Ceylon. And she came to this part about Abhimanyu and all about the greatness of this young fellow called Abhimanyu. And she says, that's it, I'm going to call him Abhimanyu. Now, how she knew that it was going to be a boy, I have no idea because this was before the days of echosonography. But anyway, at that point in time, there was only the driver in the car, so she turned around and said, yes, madam. And his eyes left the road. And the car hit an oil slick and it turned turtle several times, throwing my mother out of one door and the driver out of the other door. Both of them landed on their feet. The car was a total wreck. My father was very upset. Not because of my mother or the driver, but because of the car. However, everything was all right. There was no damage except to the car. And my father said, this is terrible. I can't get the car repaired quickly, so you will have to make your own way to the hospital. Better than this, I'll send you back to India and you can have your child. You see, it was, why he said your child and not his child, I have no idea. But anyway, whatever it was, my mother was sent back to India and it happened to be in Bangalore. In Bangalore resided her own parents and her parents-in-law, both her parents-in-law. And within a couple of weeks, I made my appearance into this world and my mother put her very ladylike foot down very firmly and said, I'm going to call my son Abhimanyu. And they said, no, we can't call him Abhimanyu. So they said, well, I don't care what you're going to call him, but I'm going to call him Abhimanyu. So they put their heads together and worried and thought and wondered what to do. And they said, okay, the only way you can call him Abhimanyu and get away with it, because everybody knows that Abhimanyu died at the age of 16 and nobody gives a name like Abhimanyu to young children, particularly boys. And so they said, all right, what can we do about this? And so they gave me all these other names to counteract the bad effect of the word Abhimanyu. And that's why I'm saddled with such a long name. And that's what the Mahabharata reading got me in the first place. Also, if you have a look at the meaning of the name Abhimanyu, it's a very dicey thing. Those of you who are internet savvy, get onto the internet and you will find that the name Abhimanyu is not a very nice name. It means anger. It means annoyance. It means pride. It means, in fact, every bad thing possible. And it also means killed by Lakshmana. So, I tried to figure out what is so great about this name, and apparently, if you break the name into two, Abhi and Manyu, it means into the mind or into the spirit. Now, I don't know what spirit they were talking about, but I'm pretty much into all the kind of spirits there are. Be that as it may, I have had a very odd kind of life, a very enviable kind of life, because I started my education in Shanghai in China, where I studied in a communist school. which was very special because they taught only in Chinese, which was very useful because I didn't get too much of the doctrine there. I didn't know how to speak Chinese, but however, I had learnt by the time I left. My very second school was Bishop Cotton's Girls' School in Bangalore, which of course is every boy's dream, to be in a girls' school. It was wonderful, and my early dreams came to fruition very soon in my life. The reason why I was sent to a girls' school, because as far as I know, I was male when I last checked. Because when I looked at the mirror this morning, I noticed my beard. So that's how I know I was a male. What did you think? Anyway, what I was trying to get at was that the reason I was sent to this school is because coming back from Shanghai in China, I knew no other language except Chinese. And it becomes a little tricky when you go to a small little town, in those days it was a small little town like Bangalore, and try and look for education in Chinese when you happen to be a person who doesn't know any other language. Eventually, after a rigorous search, they found a school, that was Bishop Cotton's Girls' School, which had a lady teacher over there who was of Chinese origin, and she was the only person in Bangalore who could understand me. So I felt deeply, irrevocably in love with her because she was the only person I could talk to. Having studied in that school, I was immediately uprooted from there and then sent off to England to study, where they spoke a completely new language called English, which is completely different from the kind of English that we spoke here in India. Particularly the Chinese accented English laced with Kannada, which is very strange. So when I went to England, I had to learn a whole new language, and after 1.5 years, I was uprooted from there and sent to a little village in Germany where they had no education in English, so I was taught in German. So I have had, as I was telling you, a very, very odd kind of education. I have been everywhere and probably learnt nothing. And I think one of the reasons why the respected Swamiji has called me was right at the beginning of what he was saying. He was saying that we have brought you people from all walks of life. He is absolutely right. We have heard Mr. Gopalakrishna, who has come from real greatness, and you have to have the opposite barometer. You have to have the opposite barometers to say what kind of person you should avoid. That's me. Don't be like me. I made my father lose his hair at a very young age because I could hardly ever pass any examination. That is why today I am an education expert. I know every single way around every examination possible. That's what makes me so valuable to the educational community. But anyway, I've had so many experiences, and one of the first books that I ever read, that I was made to read at a very young age, mind you, this is at a really young age, I was made to read a book called The Art of War. The Art of War is a treatise written by a person by the name of Sun Tzu in, I think, the 1st century BC. In the first millennia BC. It is today one of the most revered books on aggressive management. Then, very many years later on, I had to find out the meaning of the word Abhimanyu, so I read the Mahabharata. And over there, I came across another book on war, the Mahabharata. And from that, I learnt a great deal more. And it's peculiar because both these books are Eastern books. One from China and one from India. And both written roughly around the same time, in millennia before Christ. One learnt a great deal, but the point is, while The Art of War is a very direct book and you have to do a lot of thinking about it, in the Mahabharata you can read it as a story, you can read it as a book on advice, you can read it from a really deep point of view, or go in even further and read it as literature. It improves your language, ergo communication. It improves your thought, concentration, your capability, and one of the other big C's, your competence. One of the things is that everywhere in the Mahabharata, and then of course particularly in the Gita, you have this concept of management, how to manage things. And hence I put together a little presentation called the 7 Steps to Successful Managing, the epic pathway to leadership. The epic because of the epic quality of the inspiration for this, and of course successful managing. I know all about successful managing, that's why I've never practiced it in my life. I have loads and loads of people who worked with me and they wish they never had. So please, once again, let me tell you all, don't be like me. Try and be like what I'm going to talk about. You will need, for good management, several things like willpower, effort, and drive. You need the willpower to excel. You need to put in effort. The part of the manthan that we just heard about, we need that. And we need drive, something to push you. And where does all this come from? Lord Krishna said to Arjuna, it is not the number of hours, it is not the number of flowers, but it is the power of concentration. It is the power of dedication that counts. You see, it is not enough to just keep on praying all the time. Please understand, you have to dedicate yourself. You have to commit yourself to your path, whatever your path is. If you want to become a murderer, then please become a good murderer. Become an efficient murderer. Don't get caught. If you want to be a good manager, become an efficient manager. Lots of people become managers today. Many of the managers, and I worked under a lot of them, many of the managers don't deserve any respect whatsoever. I know, because I didn't give them any. The fact is that they did not have one thing. They did not have dedication. Today you see this happening everywhere. People jump jobs like playing hopscotch on a minefield. They jump jobs all the time for what? Not because they want to do better work, but because they get a better salary. Now this is the unfortunate part of it. Why is it that the better salary is what makes the drive to change? There is no such thing today, unfortunately, that teaches you in MBA schools a concept of value education. There is no value important. They give you all the fundamentals of human resource development, of marketing, of finance, of logistics, of supply chain management and all that sort of thing, but no values. Ethics, you might at the end of 2 years learn how to spell it, yes, but not how to practice it.